on Vladimir Putin. Here's the statement that President Biden put out about inflation. He said, today's inflation report is a reminder that America's budgets are being stretched by price increases and families are starting to feel the impacts of, Ainsley, Putin's price hike. That is the talking point that we're hearing. It's all Vladimir Putin, none of the policies we've.
Do they just think we're dumb? This is what happens when you're in an administration. You look at whatever the biggest conflict is, whatever the biggest news story is. It happens to be what's happening in Russia right now. They think that, oh, that's great. We're going to take advantage of this. We're going to blame everything on that situation to divert, to redirect, so that we're not blamed for this. Even though we are not dumb, and we have felt this in our pocketbooks, in our bank accounts, Democrats, Republicans, independents, everyone across the country have felt the inflation, have felt food prices going up, our electric bills going up. To fill your gas tank, someone told me in California it was $100 for a mom to fill up her gas tank. She lives in LA. I mean, that's crazy. We're not stupid. This has been going on for more than a year now. We saw it happening as soon as Donald Trump left and as soon as Joe Biden takes office. And people want it fixed. And they're going to have a problem in November at midterms if they don't solve this problem. They can blame it on everything under the sun. But we know that it is their fault. And if they don't fix it, they're going to lose the elections in November.
Steve Ratner worked for President Obama and would not hear of it or have it. Like Larry Summers has been speaking out when economics has just been misconstrued and mismessaged. He says, well, no, these are February numbers and include only a small Russia effect. This is Biden's inflation, and he needs to own it. And they go back to the 1.9 rescue package, saying that was totally unnecessary. Trump gave you $800 billion, which was unnecessary. We sent $6 trillion coming out of the pandemic. We just spent $1.4 last night on the omnibus bill. You spend all this money if the dollars just inflate. But it's not going to stop that messaging from coming out.
You're exactly right. I mean, they have to think people are dumb, because every single chart on inflation and on gas prices looks like that since he took over. And yet they're trying to say, just pay attention to this really little part at the end. And that's what Steve Ratner put it out. An Obama official. 4 days of that consumer price index report are when the war was actually going on.
The more we pay at the pump, the more they're going to pay in November.
This is very serious, and I think that the International Criminal Court may very well come up with charges against Russian officials, either possibly later this year or more likely sometime next year.
And John, if I could follow up on that and kind of press you on that. I covered a lot of the early war crimes trials out of the former Yugoslavia, and then some of the International Criminal Court trials, and it does take forever. That is an institution that's been, has had struggles. And I just wonder, also, having been in The Hague covering those trials, it just seemed a long way from where the victims were. And this is about accountability and justice for the victims. And I was in the court when some of these verdicts were handed down. I wonder if there are other, and it just felt very, very different. It felt remote from Sarajevo, from other places that those trials were supposed to answer the pain of. And I just wonder if there are other avenues. What about national? Could Ukraine put people on trial as Israel did with Eichmann? What's your assessment of the impact that the International Criminal Court can really have in achieving justice in a situation like this?
Well, Terry, you make a good point. The International Criminal Court over the last 20 years has been very slow. Not all of its prosecutions have been successful. The United States, as you well know, Terry, is not a big fan of the International Criminal Court, although I suspect that the administration will support it in this instance, but it can be very slow. And I think this will be a real challenge for the court to rise to the occasion and do a good investigation. But you're right, there could be other avenues. If Ukraine survives as a country, which we certainly all hope that it will, it could conduct its own national investigations of war crimes. There's been talk recently amongst senior officials around the world, including former Prime Minister of the UK, Gordon Brown, calling for a special tribunal like the Nuremberg tribunals to be set up to investigate and prosecute Russian war crimes. Individual countries, including the United States, actually have national laws that allow them to investigate or prosecute war crimes, although I suspect most of these countries... Please.
No, please conclude.
But, most of these countries would much prefer a international criminal court to be doing the investigating and prosecuting rather than to have a Germany or a Poland or an individual country doing the investigating and prosecuting. So I think you're right. We will have to see the International Criminal Court up its game, do better than it's done in the past. What we'll see here, though, is many, many countries, I suspect the United States, Britain, Poland, others will be pouring in classified and open source information plus social media into the prosecutor. So unlike other cases that they've investigated in Africa that have been really difficult to investigate and prosecute, I think the prosecutor is going to have a wealth of information, both open source and classified, including Russian radio communications, to determine whether Russian officials and commanders did commit war crimes. So this is definitely something to watch over the next year.
Great point. And also that the Nuremberg trials, you could almost have a special trial, even where the ICC was doing it in Ukraine. The Nuremberg trials, of course, in Germany. So that people there could get the message. John Bellinger, we thank you very much. I know we'll be hearing about this a lot in the coming months, and as you say, in years. Thanks very much for being with us.
Nice to be with you.
Fleeing fast from a war zone, but what if you're in a wheelchair and needed to get down 8 flights of stairs? A harrowing and heroic escape from Ukraine next.